Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. This is episode number 63. I am Len D'Amico, and this evening it is my absolute great pleasure to have O.C. Harris. O.C., how are you this evening?
Len, I am absolutely fabulous, baby. Absolutely fabulous.
I love it. I'm glad you made it today. It's a little windy out there.
Yeah.
But here you are, man.
It's Ohio, you know.
It is.
It's Ohio.
It is.
The wind blows in Ohio.
It does.
It's just one of those beautiful things, man.
O.C. Harris is a band leader and bass player in the band. I'm going to let you talk about your band, O.C.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, my thing right now, I've got the Charles Grace Band. We were formed back in around 2007 was the inception of the band. And the whole idea behind the band was to be a cover band, but to encompass the music that were done by artists who have other great offerings, but we were doing like the B-sides, because a lot of time the B-sides can be just as tasty as the A-side. So we were kind of looking to do things that no other bands in the city were doing. So we handpicked our music and we handpicked our musicians, and we came up with a format that was unlike anything that any other bands were doing on any given night. Because, you know, sometimes it's a drag when you go to a few different clubs and, you know, you can hear bands all playing, you know, the same basic set list. So we want to kind of create our own niche and then fill it. And we've been fairly successful at doing that.
Indeed. And you know, Charles Grace Band has been around for how long?
Well, I started the band back in 2007. At first, we were mostly an original band. We were a spinoff of a band I had called Unisoul, which was an all-original band, and we did funk rock type music. So when that band the demise of that band actually led into the Charles Grace Band. And the Charles Grace Band was something that came up out of I had some medical things that I went through back in the day, and, you know, I just incorporated, you know, the fact that we live under God's grace into the name of the band, and that's where you get the grace in the Charles Grace Band.
It's a very, very eclectic group, and I don't know many that are out and about doing what Charles Grace Band does. I associate funk with Charles Grace Band, and that genre, I think, is somewhat unique in Columbus, especially with, you know, how you guys approach everything with the B-sides.
Right. Well, I mean, we're doing, you know, for example, we do stuff by Daryl Hall and John Oates, Brothers Johnson, Brick, Bobby Brown, you know, some of the old standards, but not much of that. We're into the newer stuff. We do Dojo Cuts, Roxy Ray, Dumpster Funk, Marcus King, Ashley Slater, Ferry Ultra, Herbie Hancock, Izzo Fitzroy, you know, Lettuce, Turk Has, you know, we're running the gamut of the new style funk. With just a mix of the old stuff from like Lakeside, Cameo, Daz Band, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And, you know, now that we've incorporated a live horn section, it opens up a lot of other opportunities musically and sonically that we didn't have in the beginning.
Sure. Yeah, I think it was in the beginning part where I had met you.
Right.
And I had met you personally because I was drawn to what you just described. I'm like, man, because I love funk. I love 70s funk. And I knew it was tainted with that material, but, you know, with some additional covers of other beyond that.
I remember.
But 70s punk or 70s funk. Yeah. And I was your guitar player for a while there.
Yes, you played with us for a while there. I remember us rehearsing at J-Mo's.
Yes.
And we had you and Janelle Morrison on drums, Tibby Porter was our singer at the time, and then you on guitar, and we had somebody. I can't remember who was on keys. Was it J-Mo, or was it somebody else on keys?
I think J-Mo did it for a while.
Yeah,
But I think I think by the time I had actually left, you may have been without keys at that time.
Yeah. Well, you know those things happen.
But you know what though, man, I want to just pause for a second and just give a shout out to Janelle. I don't know if she would appreciate her last name out here in the ether.
She's cool, man.
She's cool.
Yeah, she's cool.
Listen, Janelle Morris. Okay.
Morrison. Yes.
Janelle Morrison behind the kit. Okay. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you know, she could use her right foot and the top hat and just kill it
Kill it.
with rhythm.
Let me tell you, right now we're at, we rehearse at N8 Studios over in Indianola. Beautiful facility. If you need somewhere to rehearse, that's a beautiful facility to go to. Nate does a good job there. It's N8 Studios. I had to drop that plug there because we're a resident artist. We've been there for years. But before we went there, we were at the one across the street or across the parking lot. And I can't think of the name of it. It was like the Plastic Waffle or something like that. And I remember we went in, that was one of the places where you had to bring all your own equipment. And they had like, the first time we went there, they had like a rickety drum set sitting over in the corner. It was like a hogmosh parts bin of just some old drums. And Janelle took those parts and pieces in a bucket and she absolutely killed it. We were all looking like, how did she even put that together? Shout out to her. That girl's a fantastic drummer. She's not doing it too much anymore. You know, she went back to her profession, but girl was a killer drummer for sure.
Well, between you and Janelle, I was sold to do my best.
It was a good rhythm section.
To provide what I could,
Yes,
in my part,
absolutely.
stayed in my lane. But you guys, that was a lot of fun, man.
Absolutely.
And we had a lot of vocalists at the time. I just really enjoyed that.
We were finding our way.
Sure.
You know, we were finding our way. That was in the early inception of things. And we were still trying to forge our path and find our niche and find out what clicked with us and what did not. I think back then we were doing some War. I remember doing me and Baby Brother, and we were, of course, doing some Mother's Finest, and you know, because I'm a big Mother's Finest fan, and some other little tasty tidbits of stuff that we were doing. But that was early in the inception of the Charles Grace Band.
Well, so much fun. And if this does get in front of Janelle, I want to personally say I remember you, and I hope that. And I lost touch with her, but I would encourage her to pick it up and do what she can with it, because she really is an outstanding percussionist.
Yes. We wish her the very best in her future endeavors, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. And you're a bass player.
I'm a bass player. Yeah, I got suckered into that because I actually wanted to play guitar. I was always playing air guitar ever since I could remember, but my fingers just didn't understand what was going on. They protested. You know, it was just too many strings, and they were too tiny and too close together. So I picked up the bass because my fingers were like clubs. I was Keith Moon on the bass, you know. Townsend always said that Keith Moon was like a big monkey with big clubs beating the drums, and that's how I felt about my bass player. I just had these big clubby hands, and the strings just seemed to all work together, so I got stuck on bass.
Yeah, I mean, you're a force, man, when you play. It's good stuff. You got it. You got it in you, and it comes out like a channel.
Yeah,
you know?
And the strange thing about it, I didn't even pick up a bass until 2000.
You're kidding? So
No.
you didn't start music until 2000?
I didn't start
24
music
years.
until 2000.
Wow.
That was when I when I first got hurt, and I had my back surgery, and I was laid up for a while, and then I had an infection in my back, and it kept me basically unable to do anything for a couple of years. And I picked up the bass. I ordered a bass, and it came, and it just fit. It was a natural thing, and I went from that and started ordering gear, and started actually writing songs, and it just all kind of like fit together, and it was like, wow, well maybe that's what I was meant to do, So yeah, it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah, it has. Well, and what is your license plate on your vehicle? You want to get that out? I don't know if you want to talk about that, but
the license plate is I Funk for You. It's the letter I, then FUNK, the number 4, and then the letter U. And
it says it all.
It says it all. Yeah. It's pretty recognizable. I get people stop me all the time or hit me up on Facebook. I saw you at such and such. I knew it was you because that was your plate. And I was like, oh my God. It's a good thing I'm not a bank robber or something. I wouldn't be able to get away anywhere, But it's a pretty nice plate. I get compliments on it all the time, and it's a conversation starter for sure.
Yeah, and the driver of that vehicle speaks not only from the plate but in his actions.
Yeah, I ramble sometimes, but I've earned the right to do that. Once you get up there a little bit in age, you tend to ramble a little bit, but I enjoy it. Every day is just a special blessing. Every day is just unique, and I'm thankful for every single minute of every day. Yes.
So logistics got you to the bass. It felt better than a guitar in your hands.
Yes.
Do you feel it's a natural expression for you to play?
It is. It's never been forced for me. I didn't have any formal training, so it was always a natural progression for me. I remember when I first started, internet was just in its infancy, believe it or not. So we didn't really have like a lot of how-to videos and things like that when I first started. So everything was kind of like, just playing by ear. Old school, analog. And that's the way a lot of the bass players back in the day started, because we didn't have a lot of instructional videos and how-tos and shredding sessions and things like that. So you kind of like had to just pick up your instrument and learn the best you can. So that, and then, as things progressed in the internet, and nowadays anything you want to do, you can find on the internet, especially musically. So I watch things like most of the bass player, bass theory, music theory, just the how-tos, and Rick Beato. Rick Beato is my go-to guy. I watch his episodes nonstop because he's a good teacher, but he's just a all-around fun guy. He makes learning fun. So if you don't know anything about Rick Beato, you got to check him out on YouTube. He's got a couple of channels there. He even does an episode called "What Makes This Song Great," where he actually takes some of the most well-known songs that you've ever heard, and he breaks them down to the simplest forms of the chord structure and why the song does what it does, and how it incorporates the chord structures to make the feelings that it pulls out of you, and the majors, the minors, and just all the little idiosyncrasies of music, and it's a beautiful thing. So hats off to Beato out there. You can just tell me the check's in the mail.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So 24 years you've been playing. That's
24 years.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. A drop in the bucket, though. When you think about people like Donald Payne here in Columbus, I mean, he's been playing. He started way back when he was, 14, 15, 16 years old. I hope I got that right, Donald. But, I mean, there's a lot of musicians here that started when they were kids. So in the scheme of things, I actually started very late. But because of my natural ability, I've been able to kind of, project into where I'm at now. So that was definitely a blessing. There was a design in the universe for that, I'm sure.
Oh, good for you. I mean, I share that too. When I started to play, and get involved in music, it was late for me, similarly, but I always appreciate it. And I think, and you guys are active now, right? You guys you're booking shows?
Yes. Charles Grace Band is working. We've got the Westerville Arts Festival coming up.
Nice.
And a couple other things in the fire, some of the normal bar gigs. We play El Dorados and Indian Oak, and we've played Park Street and, Comfest and Hot Times and, the regular circuit, so to speak. But, we're looking to branch into bigger things, to get into the casinos and things like that. So that's part of the nature of the beast. When you have a bigger band, you have to go to bigger venues. And so our band makeup and our musical selection, it kind of goes hand in hand with that. It reflects that.
So awesome. So awesome. 24 years in, what do you find as the main inspiration points to haul your gear, set it up, and play a show with your bandmates and make it all happen?
Lynn, my inspiration now is just a higher being. God has just been really, really prevalent in my life. He's brought me through so much. And I know that it's only through His grace that I'm able to do the things that I continue to do. I've had a lot of medical issues, and I have some ongoing issues that I'm constantly dealing with. And, I understand you do too. And, like we were talking earlier, I'm going to ride it until the wheels fall off, because, that's what I got. That's who I am. I remember I had talked to one person. It was a potential girl I was going to date, and, she was from out of town, and she was like, her question was, well, how long are you going to be doing that? And I was like, next. Because if you got that attitude, baby, you barking up the wrong tree, because daddy ain't quitting the music. I'm going to go until I can't go no more. It just don't roll like that.
Till the wheels fall off.
Till the wheels fall off.
I like that.
And, God has, he's great. We are just a drop. I was talking yesterday online about, while I was watching the eclipse, and, we're just a burp in the timeline of the earth. We're just a grain of sand in the universe. It's so immense that we're really so insignificant in the larger scheme of things, that we're just, wow, and I just, man, we can sit and complain and wonder, God, why this, why my life is like this, why don't I have this, that, and the other. But you can look at it on the other side like, man, I woke up today. I can use my hands, I can still think, I can see, I can speak. I'm free.
Right.
My home hasn't been bombed out under me.
Right.
I don't have oppression, from another force that's trying to take control of our city. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. So I'm thankful every day that we have what we have, and I have what I have. And although sometimes the road might get rough, it might seem like the odds are insurmountable, I just, I keep on pushing, man. I keep on plowing. That mule's got to keep going, because that's what he knows to do. It's like a fish got to be a fish, and I got to be me. So just like that fish is going to keep on swimming, because that's what he's got to do, because he's a fish, I'm going to keep on plowing, man. I got to keep on going, because that's why I'm here. Nothing's worse than a person who has talent and they're lazy. That just, so you got to keep going. You never know what's coming for you, what's coming around the bend for you, so.
Yep. What a great attitude, OC. That's hope. I mean, it's inspiring, inspiring remarks.
Well, we have to be, man. Dude, I went through the whole gamut of, when I was when I lived in Texas and I got kidnapped and cut up and held for ransom and by the banditos, and when I was younger in my teens, and you know you have to, at some point, you have to grow up and you have to realize that, this is a gift. Just being alive every day is a gift, because so many of us, and I'm sure people too, they're gone. Their time is over. There's not another chance. There's not a second chance. There's not a reset button. It's just, once it's done, it's done. So you have to do everything that you can to be of service to other people. Because if we all be of service to each other, do you imagine how great life could actually be?
Right.
If we're not selfish in our thought process. So, it changed me. And, when I had the heart attack and wound up having a heart surgery, I was a new person, because I realized how fragile everything can be, how your life can take a turn and it can all be over.
There's a thin veil between where we interact and the other side.
Absolutely.
And it's as thin as it can be.
Absolutely.
And you dance along that edge,
The razor's edge, baby.
It's easy to pop over there.
Yes.
You don't necessarily need to go too soon.
Well, you can get there and not even realize that's where you're going.
That's right.
So you have to be conscientious of the steps that you take, because there's consequences for everything, So I'm happy, man. I'm a happy dude, you've
been as long as I've known you.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be. You just gotta be, man. It's so easy to be positive. The negativity thing just doesn't work for me anymore. It's like, okay, yeah, I can dig this, So, yeah, I'm happy. It's like when you invited me here, I was overwhelmed. I was like, oh, sweet. I was like, cool, because, it's just anytime somebody invites you to something, you have to be graceful, and you have to recognize that that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And to me, it was an honor to be included with the other people that have been on your show. So I looked at it like, yeah, I kind of did pat myself on the back there. And, it's a good thing. It's not a arrogant type of feeling. It's just a thing of love, of being included.
Good, man. That's good. I mean, you've been out there a while.
I've been out there a while.
And you're making contribution. You've touched a lot of people, and I've known you as someone who is giving, and you do it with camaraderie and kindness. And when you have players who might be a little bit younger, that are hungry to learn, you're very giving at showing at least what you see the vision for Charles Grace Band, right? In regard to delivery of the show and the music behind it, and then also allow them to add their own background and influences into what's going on. And really, it seems that you look for like-mindedness in passion and music. And is that an accurate observation, or is there more to it?
Well, I kind of, I like to see the spiritual side of people, because I believe that even people that are don't necessarily believe in God or anything like that, they still have a spiritual side to them. And so I look at an even-tempered person and a person that is open-minded, because you want people that can think outside the box. You don't want people, That was one of the things. I never put people in a box and say, it's got to be this way, and you got to play this, and you got to do this note for note, and this and that. No, I want people to be able to express themselves, because life is all about expression, and especially when you're dealing with younger people, you got to let them be open, because if you try to corral them, it's not going to work. They're just going to walk away, So you have to be able to have them invested in the project that you're doing, and let them know that you value them. But at the same time, you want them to be able to absorb the history and the teaching of the music. And it's like, I enjoy opening people's ideas up to music that they may have not necessarily been accustomed to or have even heard. And, that's a good thing, because it goes hand in hand. They bring me material, stuff I wouldn't have listened to, and I turn them on to stuff. I'll say, hey, man, give this an ear, and then like my guitarist, he guy can play anything, and he'll bring me, some metal stuff, or he'll bring me some Yange, or, I think that's the pronunciation, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys are they're next level players.
Making it happen.
Yeah. And, it's not stuff that I would have listened to, even though I was raised on rock. I was raised on old school rock, Deep Purple, Montrose, Metallica, Black Sabbath, UFO, Aerosmith, the Stones, the Beatles, all the Primo, Zeppi, Zappa, the whole bit. And, I remember one time I brought some Zappa in, and he did a tune called The Black Page. And they called it the Black Page because there were so many notes on the page that the page was actually black. And I just threw that out there because I don't read sheet music, but some of the guys do. And I threw the sheet music out there. They was like, well, what are we supposed to do with that? And I was like, well, have that ready for next week. And they're looking at it. You got to be kidding. I see the paper get thrown up in there.
Oh.
And then we wound up doing San Bernardino by Zappa. And they were like, well, nobody's going to want to listen to that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the premise that's not why we're really doing it. What I'm trying to do is get you to open up and experiment and see the things that are actually possible, because if you never try to play a piece of music, you don't know if you can do it. And if you're never exposed to it, it's just a stumbling block. You know what I mean? It's like, try. You know what I mean? Try to do it. And Zappa was good for experimentation and just all the way outside the box.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, my God. Just and I understand Dweezil he recreates his show. Oh, God.
Amazing. John Coleman, I believe, in Columbus, Ohio, is putting together a project of Zappa material.
Oh, and interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
It will be interesting. So that's probably going to be a Dick's Den thing. Because that's kind of John's home base. He's good to them, they're good to him.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. I remember I used to play Wally Mitchell. I used to play with Wally Mitchell back in the day. I know he still plays at Dick's Den every now and then with a jazz trio. But me and Wally used to play in a band called TECP, which is the Therapeutic Entertainment something or another. And we used to go all over Ohio to the prisons and play. And Wally reminded me of Mitch Mitchell because he was a jazz player, but he could play rock. He could play anything.
Yeah.
But he had that jazz feel, and whatever he played, it had that jazz feel to it. And
that helped develop the Hendrix one of his projects, right?
Yeah. And Wally he just reminded me so much of Mitch.
Oh, man.
Even the way he played, I'm not a drummer, but I think he had like the, what do you call it when you hold the sticks, I can't think of it. I know drummers know what I'm talking about, but traditional, and then there's unorthodox or whatever have you. But he had that same. Oh my God! Whatever he played had a. He could swing like no other drummer I ever played with in Columbus. He's actually amazing. I think he's got to be in his 80s now, or close to it.
Easy.
Yeah. And I see he's still out there. Every now and then I see him, his name out there at Dick's Den. And, I've never been to Dick's Den. In all these years, I've never been there.
It's a really cool place. And my only question I have is, why not?
I just never. I
They
don't know.
have that. They have that as a neon sign, by the way, on the outside of the Dick's Den. It says, "Why not?"
Oh,
so
okay.
I was just doing a play on words.
I've never been there. I know that a lot of jazz people play there, and I just, I'm not a big jazz player. I love listening to jazz, but it was just something that I never really fully attacked. I have been toying around with it a little more lately on the fusion side of things. So, I've actually had an offer to play with a band here that actually does a lot of jazz. So I've been kind of working on my chops to get them a little up before I step into that arena. But yeah, it's a whole different world out there, man. I was like, oh my God, this is that, So
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
So, as it would relate to the Columbus, Ohio, USA music scene, what are some themes that are important to you, OC?
Far as
What are some challenges, some observations?
I think my whole thing is what I would like to see in Columbus is a more united front. I would like to see more camaraderie between the genres and less of a division in lines when it comes to musical selections and just people grooving together. It always seems to be a blues jam or a jazz jam or a rock jam. I'd like to just see more of an inclusion of more of a mashup. And I'd like to see us more active in our community as a musical entity. Just more stuff that we can do together. I'd also have a page on Facebook called the Columbus Musicians Association, and that is a basis for bringing together musicians for teaching, sharing information, and trying to get a more firm grip on better pay with the venues, and a more united front as far as how we can accomplish that goal. Getting first calls on community events like the Ribbon Jazz Fest and things of that nature, and equal pay, or pay more, in step with the times to what the national acts get. Because, we're the ones, the national acts just come through for a minute, but we're the ones that live here. We're the ones that pay taxes here. We're the ones that, at the end of the day, we're here every day. So I just think that if we unite ourselves. Now, we do have a musicians union here, but from what I understand from the people I've talked to, they don't really amount to anything. They don't really do anything as far as wages or anything like that. But I think that that's something that we could obtain together. The problem is that I see is that, a lot of bands are, I've got mine, you got to get yours. And as long as you have that type of division and you're not standing on a united front, it's going to be hard for you to be able to excel at getting better pay. And everybody complains about the pay, but nobody wants to do anything to try to change it. And it doesn't have to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. It just has to be a way that, we have a lot of musicians here that are professionals. They're attorneys and lawyers and judges and the whole bit. And so we should be able to utilize that and bring that to the forefront. We have musicians here that are contractors. There was a thing where when the Agora, not the Agora, but the Oh, I can't think of it.
Before it? Or the Alrosa?
The Alrosa, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. When the Alrosa was first
legendary.
closed down, I was like, man, wouldn't it be nice if we had a musical community that could have put our funds together and bought that place, you know? But nobody did. It was crickets. It was like, you have to start somewhere, So I don't see any reason why we don't actually have a school, a foundation where, it's built by musicians, it's funded by musicians, and we all have access to things that we need when musicians get hurt. We've got funding to try to get them back on their feet, when they go through disasters or, get gear stolen or things like that, that we have the availability to help them recover, but it just seems that, it's just hard to get people to come together. So you can look that up on Facebook. It's called the Columbus Musicians Association. And there's all the information of sort of like a storyboard of what we're trying to achieve and things of that nature. So,
well, what we can do, OC, is we can put the link to that, and we can put the link to your music sites. Your Charles Grace Band, I think, has a website, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
At least
yes.
at a minimum, there's some Facebook presence.
yeah,
for sure.
We have cgbmusic.com.
Okay, that's right.
So yeah, we do have a website, and then we're on Facebook too.
And so we can, whichever ones you want, we'll put links to those sites, for assistance for
That'd be great.
people that listen. Yeah.
Because it's all about helping each other, man, and it's about teaching, because we're the old soldiers, and once we're gone, you can look at the wave and you can see how music is changing, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I said, but we still have to remember the basics. And that's what a teacher told me a long time ago. He says, it's okay to want to play the new stuff, but you still have to remember the basics. Once you get the basics down, everything else is easy. So, it's good. It's good to share. And, I'm sure, we've got a lot of kids coming up in music, and I think that they deserve to be able to have the complete story and not just sort of the stuff that's out there now. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like I said, nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I don't want to get any hate mail. I'm just saying.
Phones are ringing, man.
Yes, I'm just saying. Let's just not forget the old school, because that's what a lot of us were raised on, and once we're gone, it's just like the bands and the musicians of the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s now. They're all checking out, and once those bands are gone, there's nobody else that's stepping in to carry on that torch. So that's why you see a lot of bands that are reorganizing.
Yep.
and trying to carry that on. The problem with that is, when does a band stop being the band that it was? Like, if you got a band and there's only one original member left, is that still that band, or does that become something else? Because everybody that contributed their spirit to that band, that's what made that band unique. Once that's gone, even if you play it note for note, it doesn't have the same feeling. So I see you kind of raise your brow there.
No. I think it's all good. I mean, I think what you're saying,
yeah. I mean, you got bands that's there's one surviving member and they're still going by this other name, and the tragedy of it is that we have young people that think that is it. But no, that's not. And I take it like Funkadelic. I've seen the landing of the mothership, the whole bit. These kids that are coming up now will never experience that. But they'll see George Clinton and say, oh, that's George Clinton of Funkadelic. No, that's a facsimile of what used to be. Last I knew, George didn't even do much singing anymore. He just kind of came out and did a couple of oohs and ahs and went on back his way. Sir Nose would be very upset with George right now.
Could be, though, but you know what? I'm a fan of a lot of guitar players, but another shout out here to Kevin Oliver. I don't know if you know Kevin, but he was in Parliament Funkadelic with George Clinton out of Columbus. I believe I think originally from Baltimore, but he raised a family in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Really good guy. But the thing I liked about Kevin is what you're describing is as Funkadelic evolves over the years from the 70s, right? Like Kevin taps into that, man. Like he taps into the history and brings it into but he's a channel. I want to find a video, and play it for you.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Kevin at all.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a different.
Sometimes, I guess my point is, he's an example where you can kind of bring it forward, because you're tapping into what it was and what it is and what it can be. And I would say again, there's a rock band named The Gods.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What it was with Mark Chatfield.
Yeah.
Okay, just a giant presence, and bringing it back together recently with some pretty seasoned talent in Columbus, Ohio.
Absolutely.
Bringing it back. And when you witness it, it is what it was and what it is and where it's going. Because there's a future for that band that they have, place for themselves. There's evolution that occurs with these bands and they become something else, but there's a refinement.
Well, yay. I will say yay and
nay.
And nay. I mean, I don't want to get any hate mail, but I mean, Gods, I was raised on the Gods.
In Columbus, Ohio?
In Columbus.
Okay.
Yeah, I was raised on the Gods. I actually can remember I had an autographed album from Mark when he had the guitar store here in Columbus, and I bought the album and bought a guitar and went up there and he signed it for me.
Awesome.
And so I remember Eric. Me and Eric shared some jail time together back in the day. So I definitely
Can you tell
remember.
that story, OC?
You
don't want to go there.
No,
okay.
I don't want to go there
Okay.
because Eric's not around anymore to collaborate that. But we. So yeah.
You sure you don't want to tell that story, OC?
I'm gonna leave that one alone. But yeah, me and Eric, we shared some time together, and so yeah, I've been keeping up with the Gods Revisited. I think it's called Gods Revisited. Resurrected.
Well, the album name is Resurrected.
Right. And that's great. They got Julie there with her. Isn't Julie with them?
Julie Neal.
Right.
Yep.
And then Mark and
Sav Ravion fronting.
Yeah. Now I know a couple of the guys have passed away.
Yeah.
But
Mark's the sole original.
From what I've seen, they kick ass.
They do.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, and there are exceptions, but the bands I was mostly talking about were the 70s and 80s bands that were the funk bands. Like Lakeside is split into two different factions now, and you got a Slave out there that is not even Slave. I don't think there's anybody left there, and then you got the Ohio Players. I think there's just one surviving member of that, but they're still called the Ohio Players. I mean, like I said, I guess it's all personal choice, but when does that band stop becoming what they were and become something else? Yeah. So it's a fine line, but yeah, we'll just have to push on from that because I don't want my car to blow up when I get up in the morning.
I got you, man. OC, I really appreciate the fact that you took the time this evening, come out, share.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
We'll get some exposure to your music and the coalition that you had brought up earlier as well.
Like I said, man, it's all about just bringing people together, man. Time is short. Our time here is very short, and music is what I do. Music is my life, man. That's my lifeblood. So I would like to see us to be able to just have a community that is vibrant and living and prosperous, and there's enough for everybody. We just got to put our heads together and I'd like to do like a big funk festival, a funk rock festival or whatever, because, other cities have it. Like Dayton has a funk festival, but, we're the capital and we really don't have anything like that. It's always a jazz festival or a blues festival, but what about the funk people? What about the people that want to shake their booties? You know what I mean? So, and we've got some nice funk bands here in town, but we just don't have a venue for them. So I'd like to get a funk festival together, maybe do something at the Valley Dale.
That'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to get a few bands together and be able to do that. So yeah, I got some things that I'm working on, man. But
Good.
I really appreciate you having me out.
Oh, yeah.
It's other than being up in the clouds, everything's been groovy, man.
O.C. Harris will have. There's a couple folks that don't like heights that came and braved it, or they don't like elevators, and they hit 13 flights of stairs. That was Todd Bettler, bass player in town. You know Todd?
No, I don't.
He hit the stairs, man. I
Look,
couldn't believe it. He's a pretty fit dude, but he hit the stairs.
Yeah, I'm not hitting the stairs. That's not going to happen. If I hit the stairs, you're gonna have to call a squad. But I was telling the guy who brought me up, I was like, dude, they're not supposed to have 13 floors anymore in buildings, are they? He was like, he said that was before. He said it's different now. I was like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. Okay, man. Well, episode number 63 on Columbus Local Podcast, O.C. Harris, funk bandmate, band leader, Charles Grace Band. Really thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And that will do a wrap. We do thank you for listening. Bye-bye.